process of getting a real one hooked up to the
Awesome
podium.
sauce. Okay, you have the monthly report, which we do every month. It's about the same as it was last week. Inspections are up. Revenues are a little less than they were last week. That's typical for this time of year. The big news from last month, as you all recall, the last time I stood before you, we were worried about across the street. Later that week, I think it was that week, New York State acted to evacuate the residents. This was, I don't know, Anthony's been with the town 6 years, 8 years, how long have you been here? We've been chasing them the whole time. Finally got the state to step up and do the right thing. So the building at 1 Grove Street, the nursing home across the street, is still empty. We have not heard a peep out of them, of the operator, since that event, really. And then the operator, some of the folks associated with the operator were arrested as part of the investigation in Spring Valley, where the fire occurred that killed the firefighter and the one resident. Same operator, 5 arrests, 1 warrant still pending for the director. Can't think of her name. Anthony and I and Elaine have been going around and around with another major enforcement action last week, for months and months on end. 180 South Street, the old Plasmaco building. It's currently being occupied ×3. There are 2 tenants, which we don't have a problem with. The newest tenant is running an Amazon-type subsidiary out of it, where they stock items inside as a warehouse, and delivery trucks show up to it, and they put that stuff in the trucks that are a result of orders. My understanding is those items then go to our Amazon warehouse for quick delivery, and these little things are popping up all over the country. As part of their renovation, they basically demolished the inside of the building. So no longer is it manufacturing with clean rooms with low ceiling heights, like in this room, where the smoke head would be in the middle of the room. A smoke detector would be in the middle of the room, tied to an alarm system. So when they went through and took out all that work with no permits, all those clean rooms, and made them warehouses again, now they're 25-foot ceilings, 30-foot ceilings. They, instead of taking the smoke heads and keeping them in place and just moving them higher, they detached them from the wires, which are still hanging throughout the facility. We are not convinced at the moment that there is adequate smoke detection and alarm in that building. So Anthony and I went out there, result of a fire call last week, Tuesday, I think. Rick Brooks called us, 911 called us. We went out, and then we gave them a week to come into compliance, or at least get me evidence that the building was compliant. Nothing occurred in that whole week. So on Tuesday, Anthony, Elaine, and I went out and asked what's up, and nothing was up. So we placarded the building as unsafe. The employees are not allowed in the building. The operator seems to be a little upset about that. I'm sure you'll get a phone call. I don't care. The building, in my opinion, is unsafe. Until I get evidence to the contrary, the building will remain placarded as unsafe. So that's that. If you have any questions on those things, you can.
The whole building shut down, or just that part?
No, just the warehouse piece.
Okay.
It is my opinion, because that's the only place that they did any demo in. The other 2 pieces to the north, the T-Source, which is a T-shirt company, and the other tenant, no renovation was done in that space. My belief is that Safeco still protects that. We have been dealing with the operator now on another issue. Actually, it was about a month and change ago that Anthony and I went out there and discovered that they have what's called high bay storage, which means that the pallets are stacked all the way to the ceiling. This requires a sprinkler system in the building code. Again, no permit was done for any of that renovation, any of that stacking of materials. A sprinkler system is required whenever you have high bay storage. No sprinkler imminent. We asked, and then we found out the other day, Anthony and I just about had a coronary when the manager of the facility, I've been calling him manager, although he claims not to have any authority, told us that they've been putting the alarm system into test mode every day while the building was occupied. And this is one of the things that makes people like me gray. So the building is, as I said, is placarded. Thanks to Anthony for chasing them and across the street, because it's been a hell of a year for interesting enforcement. Anthony, you want to talk about our friend over here with the building?
Yeah, why don't you follow with that now, but rather than wait.
So I had contact with Ollie yesterday, left message, no call. He did call today, said he can't make the meeting. I was told last week, before I went on vacation, it was Friday, that he was gonna have a dumpster there to get the metal out, and he was gonna get the fence up. I said, you need to do this. Town board is looking for you to get it done. You need to get a fence up for protection so nobody gets hurt, and you also need to get the dumpster, get it clean. He's been picking it up piece by piece, taking it away in a trailer. Still no fence. He did not return my phone call today. I did not get a chance to talk to him before I came to the meeting, but I will definitely be following up with him tomorrow. At least get the fence up. I realize it's gonna take time. I also went back to an old site plan when Charles Leibolt had it for the roofing company. And on the site plan, which may or may not be 100%, but there is no outdoor storage or display of anything. So Mr. Bizzuto had asked me today if I would find out about that, and it's on there, no storage. So that parking lot is supposed to be a parking lot, no pallets, no junk cars, so.
No anything.
Nothing. That's gonna be our next thing to address.
So Anthony did that research today, found the old site plan. There's no signature on the site plan, so actually having an enforceable document before a judge might be difficult. That's why it's excellent that it's still in your hands as the enforcing party to kind of make sure that the outside of the building stays nice and clean, unlike what it's been.
Okay.
Any questions? Mark?
The name of that company out on South, at the Patrick, do you know what they're called?
I know the owner is 180 South Street LLC. I think it's DL Direct. Email me tomorrow. In fact, you asked for an email about across the street. That investigation is ongoing, but the arrests have occurred as from down in Spring Valley.
Okay.
So I can supply you with the violations across the street now.
Okay.
All right.
What does it take to put that building in shape?
So Anthony and I had a very interesting conversation with the owner, the operator. We demanded that the old section be completely gutted to the walls because we don't know what anyone in the past has ever done in those walls. Based on some of the observations that we've experienced since June 1, which was the fire date that caused all this to kind of get kicked into motion, which was after the fire in Spring Valley, we discovered that there's a whole ton of stuff over there that would make a sane person afraid to live there. Real fire issues. I mean, real imminent fire issues. And that's why we demanded New York State Health, who, let me go back. We control the enforcement of the building. They own the people, in effect. New York State Department of Health controls where they are, how they can live there, food and medicine and all that stuff. They control that through the operator. New York State, I don't know if you know New York State, not really great at doing things real quick. This was the trigger. I mean, it actually was Anthony's first email to, he's been back and forth with them for 3 years now. It was that trigger that kind of rolled all this into motion. So we want them to gut it to the studs.
Old and new?
No, just the old. We've done full inspections during the construction of the new, so we're fairly confident the new is in good shape.
There now?
No one's in the building now.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all. And then when they put it back together, we'll do our regular inspections as if it was a new building.
Okay.
That way, we're relatively confident that the electric and the plumbing and everything else is up to code.
So,
Who's the listed owner?
SJJP LLC.
Thank you. SJJP LLC.
Dave, quick question
Yep.
on that, and thanks you for being on top of that. So what you're telling us is you can definitely hold them accountable and that they can't reopen until they gut it and
Over
bring
here,
it.
yeah, no question, Joe.
So the whole building's gonna come back up to standard before they can open it.
Before we agree so once all this got triggered, the New York State Department of Health, there's a piece of New York State Department of Health that just does nursing homes and assisted livings. They've been pretty good kind of following our lead because they weren't doing it before this fire and then all the eyeballs on New York State because of that fire. They are not going to open that building and reoccupy it until we are 100% satisfied that life safety and welfare are protected for the people who go back there.
And did they ever put the fence up that they promised across
There's
the?
a whole ton of stuff
Right.
that is not yet satisfied. In fact, Elaine from my office did she do it today or is she doing it tomorrow? Sent a violation out for the high grass, which Anthony and I, when we were across the street, told them we want that remediated now. There's concrete piles over there. You see the concrete slabs over there. We're going to take care of that almost immediately. The tall grass, the fence, the whole ton of stuff. And they're just, I think they're a little preoccupied with the investigation down in Spring Valley, but I don't care. They're going to do the right thing.
No, Dave, because I remember when they came in front of the town board at the time to get that, and I sat there. They didn't comply then, and I knew that they would continue not to comply to make their place look attractive for their neighbors. And it's really sad that we're here.
It is sad that we're here, and it's, I can tell you that this last 3 months, 3 months we've been dealing there and out there, have been probably the most stressful in my career.
Dave, just to back up on one thing, and I'm glad that you're on top of the old Plasmaco building. The one concern, the other two residents, even though they didn't do any reservations, did you check their fire alarms to make sure they weren't affected by?
Yep, so I have
The
a
wires
letter
are
out to
cut.
Safeco. So what we're looking for really is somebody to certify to us that the building is compliant with an NFPA 72, which is the fire alarm detection code. We're looking for that letter from a certified company like ADT, CIA, Safeco. Safeco is the company in charge there, and they're ultimately responsible, they and the owner are ultimately responsible for protection there. So I have a letter out to them requesting that certification. I have spoken to the two tenants. They were there the other day when we placarded the building. They were a little surprised that the owner didn't let them know that this was going on. So I will follow up more
Sean,
aggressively.
Quick question, because we now know that the fire alarm doesn't work in the one part of the building, and we're not certain about the other part of the building, if God forbid something happened there, are we liable by not closing the other two businesses until we have proof?
I don't think the town would have any liability for that.
And just as a reminder, we have placarded the building as an unsafe building, so anyone who occupies the building has to pass by those placards to get into the building. And we've let them all know, we let the owner know the other day that, you know, if something happened, it's completely on them. The building is placarded, we're letting you know that we think the building is unsafe. They would eat it entirely.
One thing, this old Super 8, can you bring us up to speed what's going on there? I see they're doing some painting and,
Yep, so they're open now. It's a Sure Stay by Best Western. They've done some cosmetic work, and Anthony did the inspections on the repair of the electrical, which was the fire and some of the interior work. They've actually upgraded the fire detection system and the carbon monoxide system. In fact, they just did the final test last Thursday, I want to say, it's Friday. So yeah, so they're back up and running. I just drove by this morning, and there's no cars in the parking lot yet, but I'm not sure who's coming to Highland this weekend, so.
Yeah, I saw the sign too today.
Yeah,
Just
so
wondered.
they're back open.
we have our big fireworks display, so hopefully a lot of people will come this weekend.
Hopefully, that's true. We good?
Hide your dogs.
So, Sean, can I just ask a question, Dave, and this is out of your realm, but you might want to comment. What's going on with the sidewalk on Commercial Avenue?
Well, actually, last week, the town got a letter saying that there was some discussion about getting, instead of a sidewalk, there was discussion about getting an easement to the town. Easement up the old, the back Pratt's driveway, up to the rail trail. But then there was, Fred, you got the letter, right?
Yeah, the discussion that was had, was a discussion, was that when it went through the planning board, Dave probably recalls this as long as I, when we proceeded with that piece of property, we thought there was an easement up that road to the rail trail. At that point in time when Jonathan sold the property, we were informed that there was no easement, that it was a handshake, and the easement didn't exist. The current owner didn't want to give us an easement because of an insurance problem. Fast forward, there was a discussion upstairs in the planning board when Peter was the chairman about what he was or wasn't going to do as conditions at that point in time. Apparently, from what I understand now, he was going to piggyback his sidewalk onto Brad Scott's proposed childcare facility. One has nothing to do with the other, but at that point, he was going to build a sidewalk. Some planning board members have that same recollection from that meeting. He came back to us and said, well, that he would be willing to give us an easement now, going backwards, because apparently the state, since it's now an Empire State Trail, would insure the piece of property. There are planning board members that have recollection of, at the meeting upstairs after that he would do the sidewalk. So at this point in time, Sean is gonna, Patty's away this week. Sean will be in contact with Patty Brooks. We have sent him an estimate from the engineers, what the specs are on that sidewalk and what that sidewalk would cost us at prevailing wage, and what that sidewalk would cost him as a private contractor. That's right where that stands at the moment.
Sean, I'm getting very discouraged, and I think that we've talked about this long enough. He promised to build the sidewalk. He committed to building the sidewalk. He was giving his permits based on that he was going to build this sidewalk, and now it just seems like my fear is coming true that he's trying to wiggle out of it, and now he wants to give the easement, which he didn't want to do before, the right-of-way. Because I remember the conversation, you don't want to be responsible, and that's how the sidewalk thing all came about. Can we really start holding him accountable and take him to court if we have to?
Well,
Because
you could
this
take
is
him to court.
ridiculous.
You could commence a court action, bring an enforcement proceeding. I think I've said before that I don't think it's part of the site plan approval that he built the sidewalk. I don't think it's, there was a proposal that he built a sidewalk, and he said he was gonna build a sidewalk. And there was a letter proposing that he would build a sidewalk. I've not seen anything that would make that enforceable.
Even though it's a promissory guarantee?
No, he came and said, this is, he said a lot of things, but some things were put into the site plan approval process.
And who should have made sure that was put into the site plan when you guaranteed it? Well,
I haven't seen it
should
in
it have
there.
been you? Should it have been the building department?
As a
Because-
person,
No problem with that at all.
I can speak to that a little. As a person, as sitting on the planning board at the time, I thought it was a condition for him to proceed.
So,
And I haven't seen that. Maybe it is. I've not seen, the only thing I've seen is that letter, there's a memorandum stating that he would build the sidewalk.
Well, there were several things in this memorandum. There was like
There were several things,
There was
right.
like 6 points or 7 points. I don't have that in front of me.
so what concerns me is builders come in, they make these promises, then they renege on the promises, and then it seems like we can't do anything. So where is the disconnect? Where is the ball being dropped? And this should be an easy one to figure out because it's on the table now. Who should have made sure that was put into the site plan? Should have been the building department? Should have been our legal representation? Who should have done that?
Maybe you need a committee, Joe, maybe you should be on it.
Clara, there's no reason to be rude. I'm asking the question.
I'm saying
This
maybe
is
we should have a
taxpayers'
committee and
dollars.
You should be the head of it. I think
Yeah,
it'd be a
Claire.
great idea.
Well, like I said, there was this memorandum and there was discussion. I wasn't involved in the discussions. I don't know what happened. A lot of times things are put on the table and then there's discussion and then some part, they're part of a commitment and some things come off the table. Plans change. And I have no idea because I wasn't part of it, but I've seen this memorandum before. He hasn't said he won't do it. It's been a long time. I understand that. But, now my understanding is that he said at some point, I'll give you an easement in lieu of this, is my understanding what happened, which the town board would have to consider what that easement would be worth. I think that easement would be nice to have an easement. I'm not saying it's a quid pro
That's how
quo.
everyone used to go.
What's that?
That's how everyone always used to get off the trail there. When I walked it in the mornings, that's what they do if they live in town.
Yeah, it's more of a direct access to town, although you have the one over Commercial Avenue. And like I said, like Fred said, I was gonna talk to Patty, because Patty's his representative, and I was gonna try to find out what his position is, because I just found out Friday that there was some discussion about this easement, and then there was some discussion about the insurance. Patty's away this week, so I talked to Fred this morning. I said, I want to talk to Patty before we do anything else. I think we should talk to Patty and see what's his final position. Is he going to move forward? Is he going to, like you said, try to wiggle out?
Yeah, because there was a lot of concessions. They were supposed to have balconies, then they didn't have balconies. They forgot to. Yeah, then they were supposed to have. Then they were supposed to have the shed. They had the shed. So there was a lot of things that were loosey-goosey on this. I know, Claire, you don't like that term, but it's a term I like. But what's this about a child care facility? Because I don't recall hearing
No,
about
way
that.
back when,
Yeah, I didn't hear
way
Not
back,
something current that's
no,
happening.
no. Way back when, there was a proposal coming before the planning board for a childcare facility at the old school bus garage. And if you remember when they were digging over there, all of that oil came up out of the ground. And at that point in time, that whole deal went away because it's contaminated.
Okay,
That was 4 years ago.
thanks, Sean. If you just look into that, I appreciate it.
Okay, Sean, thank you. Yes?
Will do.
Maybe a couple of meetings ago, the town board said they were considering putting a deadline date for Mr. Leifeld to either build it himself or the town would build it. Are you consistent?
I think at this point in time, Sean will talk to Patty, and then this board, maybe either before or by the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, we will come to that decision.
Because, Sean, I thought that Patty, in one of the proposals, came to us, said that he'd build a sidewalk.
There was a memo, and he offered to build a sidewalk, and he's never said he wouldn't. Like I said, most recently, there was this, she said, you know, as an exchange, instead of doing the sidewalk, he was gonna do this, grant the easement to the town for access to the rail trail.
But wasn't this not supposed to be an easement? It was supposed to be, he was supposed to build a path. He was supposed to build a path originally, not
But
for his
access, because
driveway.
right now, he's not given access. Right now, so my understanding is that if I wanna go to the rail trail, I'm not allowed to go through his property.
That's
Right.
true.
But it was supposed to be a path on his property, not through the driveway.
But it's an easement for
Right.
access. The big thing
Right.
is access, and like I said, I don't know, I think that would be nice to have. I'm not saying it's worth the cost of a sidewalk, but having
Well-
an access for the public through that area.
Joe's actually correct, because at one point, the conversation was the path, and the concern the planning board had was the steepness of it, and the path would have been to the very right side of the property where the stream is, and as you go across the bridge now, the path would be like this. So that's way too steep, but there was some path conversation.
Supposed to be a path. Right away with a path. It wasn't supposed to be walking up the driveway where the cars come down.
Right.
Never happened. And then he put the sheds where the path was supposed to go, that he wasn't supposed to build the sheds. Just built balconies, and he forgot to put the cantilevers on, and that was let go. So there was a lot of things that were let go on this project, and
I think
Here we
have
are.
Sean talk to Patty, and then Sean get back to the board, and then we'll see where we are in 2 weeks, because it's long enough.
I agree.
Okay, highway?
Just one
Rich?
quick
Yes.
question. Dave left though?
Yeah.
So I'm noticing on those apartments, I was at the Dollar General, I actually went there, and I noticed that they're cutting through the parking lot to go into the apartments at a very high rate of speed.
Where, Joe?
We're at Dollar General, and then they have the apartments going in behind it.
They're not supposed to be cutting through.
Well, they have the gate open and it's cutting through, so I'm concerned I thought that was supposed to be an emergency access road.
You're correct.
Not a cut-through.
You're correct.
And when those apartments are done, is it gonna be left open or is it gonna be closed? Because
Your, I don't want to use the word assumption, your recollection is correct. That's not supposed to be an in-out.
yeah,
for the-
because
for the- for the
using-
apartments.
They're using it right now with the construction.
We'll have buildings look into that. That's not supposed to be happening because of the problem getting out on 9W and making left turns into traffic.
Yeah. But a lot of the access is because people are living in the apartments, so they're going that way, so they're not driving by the apartments that are occupied.
But then they shouldn't have rented it till they finished the
Listen,
project.
I didn't say, I just said that's why.
Richie, I want to say thank you for patching North Road, because it was really crazy, and I understand you were getting calls, but it wasn't from me. I was trying to be patient.
And Rich, thank your guys for yesterday. That storm that came through, microburst, whatever you want to call it, your guys were out there in the fierce of it, cutting limbs, making sure roads were safe. They did an outstanding job.
We're not even close to
I know, but they were working hard.
I think one road's still closed. North Elkins, a bunch of poles came down.
Yeah.
We're cleaning up.
They got a mess. They got a mess going on.
Richie, that's my street. Did you guys push those poles down on purpose? Did Claire have something to do with that? Were you Claire chopping the poles?
Joe, I was in New Jersey, but let me tell you.
I think you were there, Claire.
I'd own it if I did it, Joe.
So I saw a little chainsaw in the back of your truck.
Go ahead, Rich.
Just gonna have to be patient with
Jimmy, can you look into that for me, please?
other stuff getting done until we get this mess cleaned up. First round of paving's done. We got Joan Place, Carolyn Drive, Miller Lane, Crow Hill, Weeds Mill Road, Dominic, and Ransom done. So there's 3 or 4 more to do, which we'll do in August. And that's about it.
Will Grand Street ever end up on that list? Because your street is really getting kind of beat up.
Andrew's trying to get
That's all I have to do is take my road
I know,
first. You
well,
know how
and I
that-
know that, and
you
that's
know
why
how
I'm,
that goes.
that's why I'm bringing it up, because it's a pretty used
It may
road,
be
right? And
because-
it's getting pretty rough with,
That's gonna be done this year.
A minute window you have to log in.
I knew
Could
that
you see
that
if
was,
he's logged in?
I knew that would be a problem, but
No one up there.
I've already heard about Weeds Mill,
who's on Weeds Mill?
my son,
Oh,
so. But,
that's why I made sure I knew I did not call and complain about the big ruts in our road.
Yeah, everybody else call.
Somebody else did.
I know what I know who the calls come. I could just,
I knew who the calls came from too.
And, you know, we're just doing our general work. I got some pipes, culverts to replace. So they get the mess cleaned up, we'll start doing that. That's about it.
Can I have a moment? Please, on behalf of all of us, thank the guys. They were out till 10 o'clock last night, and they were back in there today. Went up there, it looked like a tornado went through there. Huge trees that were down. So please give the guys our best.
Where trees go down?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't get hit bad,
Shattuck,
but I've had all my trees.
Elton Corner, Shattuck Lake.
No, I got hit on North Road. Big,
did?
yep, huge
Got a
tree.
big, got like a microburst. This is what you're-
Came right, must have came through the soccer field and took a huge tree out.
I'm relieved I had my trees done last year, because when I drove up last night, I was holding my breath.
And that was a big problem last night too, trying to pick those trees and the leaves are so wet, it just clogs the
Yeah.
river up, so.
Yeah.
It stayed north of 299 for some reason.
So, Central Hudson's probably still out there trying to get their customers back online, so as soon as they do that and they're out of our way, then I can open that one road up and at least the traffic's flowing on well and stuff.
Did we fix the drainage too there by where Sal's doing those houses? Did
No, I
that?
gotta do that,
Okay.
that's part of the drainage, I gotta.
Okay, I saw him with a big, machine out there, that's kind of what I thought, maybe he did it.
Alrighty?
Yep,
Anybody
thanks,
else?
Rich.
Very much. James. Welcome back.
Did you have a relaxing time?
Yes and no. Van loading people a lot. Good to be back. June, our activities, we had 1,727 calls of service. Our calls are picking up obviously because summer's here, everyone's out. 45 accidents, 7 which were personal injury, 38 were property damage. Issued 10 parking tickets, 44 uniform traffic tickets, 10 arrests. For activities for the month, June 1st, we held our cops and coffee at Bob Shepherd Landing. June 15th, we installed a new ventilation system in the evidence room.
Excuse me, Jimmy. Richie, would you close that door, please? Thank you.
June 15th, the new ventilation system was installed in the evidence room to help circulate the air. Unfortunately, it was never built when we moved in there 20 years ago. That's where all our evidence goes, narcotics, so it's a foul smell there, so we finally got a ventilation system hooked up. On June 16th, I spoke at the Rotary meeting, discussed the issues that were affecting our community, how we're addressing them, and how the goals of the police department are going forward. June 16th also, we hired 2 part-time dispatchers and 1 full-time police officer. June 18th, myself and Lieutenant Rolson took the flex class from the high school to a Saugerty Stallions baseball game. They didn't get to do their Special Olympics this year because of COVID, so I got a few phone calls made, and we got them to go see a baseball game up in Saugerties. We got to meet the coaches, the players, go on the field. Each of them got an autographed baseball from the team, so I want to thank the Highland Central School District and the owner of the Saugerty Stallions for making it happen, Kevin Hinchy. June 24th, we had officers assigned to the Highland High School to assist with the high school graduation. No issues. Congratulations to the class of 2021. June 27th, members attended a memorial service for retired senior dispatcher Scott Task, who passed away, American Legion. On June 28th, Lieutenant Rolson held the annual harassment training for all new seasonal town employees. On the 29th, he held a class on crime scene preservation for all members of Ulster County Fire Departments up in Ulster County. Training this month was Officer Roberto and Officer Montford completed a week-long course in crisis intervention team training, which brings together about 10 members now that are training this. It's de-escalation on the street with individuals, mental health, or any kind of crisis. Officer of the month is Officer Vazios. He is a part-time employee since 2020. He is currently one of our firearms instructors. He's trained in de-escalation as a crisis intervention team member, and he brings several years of previous law enforcement experience to our department. Narcan use, none, thank God. However, we did have one fatal overdose in June. 25-year-old female passed away. And no pulse complaints in New York State since everything was opened up.
Anything for the chief?
Congratulations to that officer. He's a really nice guy.
It's very good.
Yeah,
So-
I've had to,
So did you fill both positions or just the one yet?
One, I am working on one. Hopefully next month I'll have good news.
Great.
It just, with civil service, still a work in progress to get paperwork and listings and names and stuff, so,
Wonderful.
but I appreciate the support on that.
Thank you very much. Buildings and Rec, Frank expected to be here at the last minute. He had a personal issue. He will be here at the regular meeting to give his report. And just as an update, there was some concern about lifeguards being certified. They are under a COVID extension, and I know that 4 of them are being recertified tomorrow because that certification process has just come back up to speed. But he'll give us his report in 2 weeks at our regular meeting. Wendy?
We've just completed the third and final phase of implementing credit card acceptance in the town clerk's office. We started a couple years ago with town clerk transactions, and in January we added taxes, both online and in person, and on July 1st we launched water bills online and in person. Here we're coming into that 21st century. Taxes, we have turned over all of our taxes to the county, made our final payments to both the county and the supervisor. And this is the time of year where we can catch up on our records management and general housekeeping.
Thank you very much.
Wendy, quick question. So, I mean, the credit cards, we're going to be able to do summer fun and the dump also with that, or perfect? That's great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions for our clerk? Wendy, thank you very much. Adam?
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
thanks.
Yes, good evening. I'm a little discombobulated this afternoon. I was a couple minutes late and kind of running around trying to get some things done, so forgive me if I seem a little unorganized. I am. Adam Littman, Administrator for Town of Lloyd Water and Sewer. Let me start with the Water Department. We are still currently blending reservoir and river water, which is making up 90% of daily production. Our rainfall amounts over the last month have decreased. Blending time may come to an end this week. The wells are making up the remaining 10%. Our daily production time is ranging between 10 and 11 hours per day. Some of our repairs and projects, I'm getting price quotes to have one of our sludge pumps at the water plant repaired. We only have 2. We've only been using one for the last several years. By the end of the month, I should have what the total cost is to have somebody on site and get it up and running. I'm preparing to order the retaining system for clarifier number 3. This will be the last out of the 3 units to be repaired. We did the 2 last year. I mentioned last month that some of the flow control valves at the plant are becoming an issue, and we are replacing what we can. I also noted that the age of the facility is making some of those materials very difficult to get. We did, however, manage to upgrade an actuator and mounting bracket for clarifier number 1, and we're now able to use that unit on an automatic cycle again versus the guys running back and forth, up and down, and all across the plant to wash and backwash the units. So that is good news. Road crew has been very busy. As usual, they've been busy with the maintenance, repairs, and utility markouts. They've started hydrant maintenance and painting. Of course, the sewer pump stations require a lot more cleaning and maintenance in the warmer weather months. They've been assisting other departments when needed. They're very busy with yard care. One of the other things I'd like to speak about is the John Pizzani Hudson River Pump Station. Kevin Klotz and his crew of John Rockwell and Kenny Southworth have made great progress and strides in the cleaning and painting of that building. They've gotten 2 coats of the town green on it. They are in the process of completing all the trim gray and painting all the decks. Mr. Rockwell is also, well, Mr. Rockwell brought in the sprayer and put the 2 coats on the building. He's also assisting us with rehabbing the windows. Like a lot of the windows that are in that building are single pane, the concreted in. He's even made a few new frames. So I am setting up an account with 44 and 55 glass to get some window panes put in it. Right now, that crew, Kevin Klotz and his guys, have saved the town probably at least several $1,000s because I was looking at the cost of the lift. Mr. Rockwell is very comfortable with the painting. He also works very well on the ladder. The guys have been on the roofs. If you've driven past the place, you will notice the building is now there.
Looking like a brand-new building.
Yes, it is. And Fred, the supervisor, had even made a comment. Somebody had said because of the age of the building and the deterioration of the paint was so many different colors, when you drove past, it was almost camouflage. Like you didn't really see it, which was kind of a good thing. It looks like $1 million. I can't thank the crew enough. Sewer department, daily operations continue as usual. Cleaning and maintenance increases in the warmer weather months. Maintenance on the ultraviolet system increases with the growth of algae. So that brings me to the price quotes that I had just given you. If you take a look at that, there are 3 different quotes there. The prices range. Typically, that's what we would know as a carport. It is actually a steel-structured building. My desire is to cover the ultraviolet system and the tank. The units themselves suffer greatly in the exchange of weather. They do not do well in the excessive sunlight. Although these units are weatherproof, the weather does play a contributing factor on maintenance, repairs, and failures, especially at this time of the year. The sun beating on the units causes a lot of electrical failure and maintenance problems. A lot of other facilities do cover these units with some type of structure. It does reduce the algae growth, which reduces cleaning cycles and maintenance. I'd like to propose to get it covered. I have done some research. Mr. Parker had gotten me the price quotes, spoke to a lot of the vendors. Excuse me. The quotations include delivery, installation, and everything.
Adam, can I just ask a couple questions? Are all of these the same gauge steel?
I believe that they are.
Because the concern I'd have is, I know it's similar to a carport, but what you're using it for, we don't want it to collapse. And with snow, if we got a bad storm,
Yeah.
what would happen to it?
All of them are specific to the area. The Viking one that's in the front, which is the lesser price, I believe, you can quote me on this, there's 2 different gauges. One's a 12, one's a 14.
Yep.
We are recognizing the 14 gauge. So they are able to withstand the snow loads for our area, wind.
So you're going with the 14, because the 14 would be the thinner metal. The 12 would be the thicker, lower the gauge.
Is that how it works with metal? I thought that.
I thought that, and I know that gauge, usually the lower the number is the thicker, so the 12 would be the thicker.
Okay.
That in wire, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah.
It's a-
So the 14 would be the thinner metal.
Okay. I would have to take a look at that quote.
You have the
there.
12 and you have, I see a 12 gauge, I'm not seeing the 14, but the prices are very different.
Yes.
And the other thing is aesthetically, because it is going down to our river, how is that going to look?
The final page kind of has a print of what the structure would look like. It's going to be open on the sides, and it's going to have a steel roof.
And how high is that going to be compared to the fence that's around it?
It's going to be higher than the fence that is around it. I don't imagine it would be very visible. I mean, you're really going to be looking at a metal roof structure.
Right.
I know in the middle, it has to be a minimum of 8 feet to actually clear the units
Right.
and the crane. It's gonna look
So
like-
not that high.
I'm not giving you a hard time,
Right.
I understand the need, I'm just rather ask the questions, because the minute you put it up, people are going to say, oh my God, the aesthetics, and make sure the integrity of it with the weather.
Yeah. All the units are supposed to be built specifically to the areas and the weather that we have here, including snow loads.
Right.
Aesthetically, it is going to look like a carport, but I don't think it's going to look terrible.
Are you going to come to us with a recommendation?
Well, I would like to go with Viking if I could actually make the
Okay.
recommendation. believe it or not, like a lot of the units are assembled in the same places. These are just different vendors that supply them, install them, and warranty them. A lot of them are very much the same. You wind up with a cluster of vendors in certain areas, but they do buy from the same manufacturers. That's what we found.
Does he need a motion for him to go, or he can just go?
No, I think you should do a motion if you're going to.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to give the water superintendent the go on this item. We have a motion from Claire. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion from Nen, a second. All in
So
discussion?
this discussion, so Adam, I really value your opinion. I'm going to vote no on this. I'm just saying that before we vote, because I'm worried about the aesthetics.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Any other discussion?
I-
Roll.
You didn't explain to him that your budget can already handle this.
Yeah, yes, can, sorry.
Okay.
I assumed it.
I had kind of sent out an email last week. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the financial end. I'm just worried about the aesthetic end. That's all.
Wendy, give us a roll call.
Warrant?
Oh, sorry.
How about a warranty? Is it,
Yes, warranties are included.
for how long?
It's probably going to be a minimum of, I didn't inquire about it, but it's probably a minimum of a year.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Winslow,
Yes.
Pizzuto.
Yes.
Akmuti.
Yes.
Guerrero.
No,
Petty.
I gotta turn this on.
sorry.
5-1, so
Got it.
carried. Adam, thank you.
Okay, that's all I got, unless there's any other questions.
Okay, briefly, I'll run through a couple of things. As you all know, the governor last week gave us a go. Actually, we can seat 49 people in here going forward. We've had some discussions with associations of towns and supervisors and mayors. We're coming to a consensus that having WebEx as a hand in doing meetings is become the way that we do business. We're waiting for some guidance from the state. Association of Towns are closed this week. But at the moment, since we haven't heard we cannot, we'll continue on with our Zoom. We intend to hopefully enhance it, but I believe that we are still able, as elected officers, to be able to vote through Zoom, unless I'm told no. So I hope to have that opinion next week when supervisors or mayors come back up, or I hear something alternately from the governor. We're being told that the governor's office may permanently have some guidance as to how we can go ahead and use Zoom in our way of doing business. And that's especially for people who can't attend because of distance, or it's going to be limited. There'll be some limitations to it. Whether an attorney or an engineer or an architect can't make the meeting because of distance. So we're waiting to hear from that. Until such time, we can continue. But as far as the board's meeting, we're all able to be here and have our meetings and go forward in an orderly fashion. And we're only limited by the placard on the wall in the back. Couple of other things. Berry Ann Park is now complete. The grass is growing. They did an excellent job on the tennis courts, pickleball, basketball courts. Lenny, I'm going to let you talk about water and sewer at Bob Shepherd Park.
I spoke with Walter on Monday, and he's hoping to start in our direction in the next couple of weeks. That's as good as it gets.
Any other questions for Len? Permits have been issued now to take the remaining portion of the Mariners Harbor building down. There was a concern that the normal way of doing demolition could possibly put the top structure into the river. So we're being told that the top structure will be taken apart and then they'll bulldoze down the bottom structure. You heard from Anthony about Commercial and Meadow. He and I are gonna we'll have this discussion over the next couple of days. I tend to be a little hardball with him because I've had complaints from neighbors. There's a huge concern of having that place open the way it is with kids. I expect to be able to share with the board what we expect to come to as far as some kind of a conclusion, and have something on the agenda for the next regular meeting in 2 weeks. the Stacy Pavilion, the highway got back in, and they took the rest of the trees down. Lynn, you might want to talk to where we are with the excavator.
Sal Cusa is going to pull the stumps and take as much of the dirt and things that he can and pull down to see how far we can get back with that. He has a new excavator coming, hopefully the end of the week, so he said he wants to do the job with that. So he's on board to get it done just as soon as his new machine is here. That's about that.
That's all I have.
That's real nice of you to do that.
Yes, it is. Moving on, is there anything to come before the board under old business? Seeing none, is there anything to come before the board under new business?
Yeah, we're having the fireworks this weekend, the 10th.
The fireworks are set for what time on Saturday?
The event starts at 6 o'clock, run till 10 o'clock.
Okay.
We had to do is we had to move it back to the elementary school parking lot. I guess there was an issue about where they got set off.
I thought Frankie was going to be here. The fountain in the middle of the village isn't working, so maybe they could fix it this week, and we're going to get a lot of people coming in.
Good point.
Which one? The one in the middle of town?
Yeah, no, I said good point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll share that. You know what, Mike? I'll share it with him tomorrow, but reach out to him also and let him know we had this discussion.
Freddie, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, so please don't think I am. But could you please explain, I don't think people at home realize with COVID, we didn't think we were going to be able to have the fireworks. We did budget for them in the budget, so they were budgeted for. And, there's people mentioning why the date. Could you just explain so people at home know what really transpired?
Yeah, a couple of things happened. We hadn't budgeted because of COVID. I was having as how this all came about, I was having a conversation with Walkway, and apparently the city of Poughkeepsie partners with them, and that kind of fell apart. We started to have some conversations, except there's no place for Ulster County, the town of Lloyd, to view those fireworks from. And you can only get so many people down at the Bob Shepherd Park or so many people on the walkway, but the walkway tends to charge a fee. So then Len and I and Margaret continued the conversation. We reached out to the fireworks providers, and the option they gave us was that since it was at the last minute, we could have fireworks the weekend after the 4th of July. And since we've all been cooped up for a year and a half, we thought that, given it to the events committee, which we did, and they put it out there, and I don't think there's any people at this point in time that don't know that the fireworks are going to be for next Saturday.
Right.
So it's a kind of a give back to the taxpayers for the money that they pay for us to run an operation.
Right, and we did budget for it, but I just want people to know that the pyrotechnical people, I think that's how you say that live the fireworks, they really control when they can do it. So
Right,
that was the only time they
That's
had it.
correct. Margaret, how far in advance did we have to schedule with them back in what, March or April?
For a July 4th event would have been back in January, February. We would have
That's a big lead time.
So we were lucky to get as soon as the date.
lucky to get the 10th.
Were. And I thank Margaret and Wendy for Margaret, Wendy, and Lenny for that.
Pete has a question.
That's all I have. Yes, Pete.
I had a comment on the fountain. I went there the other day and I put 10 gallons of water in there. It was running, but it wasn't shooting up. There's a problem with the light sensor. It's under a bush. So it doesn't.
Who's responsible for that? Buildings and Grounds?
Say yes.
I said yes, but I was looking at it and I was checking again tomorrow.
Len or I will have a conversation with
You where, Peter?
Frank tomorrow.
Well, it needs to be running.
I'm kidding. You do a great job.
Thanks, Peter. Privilege of the floor? Yes, Mark.
Two questions. One is, can you give an update on the Cablevision contract, where that's at?
At this point, we're really waiting for another, we're going to have another meeting, and I think I have to engage Joe, because Joe's of the opinion that we should just terminate the public hearing at this point. But I think the public hearing is going to continue in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today. And
Yeah,
hopefully we'll have a decision at that point.
Are you gonna come? He said he was gonna come, right?
Yeah, he's willing to come if we're going to take action. So if we're going to take action 2 weeks from now, last week, or last month, it wasn't John, it was the other gentleman was here.
Roger,
Who?
Roger Connor.
Yeah, Roger was here. But one or both of them are willing to come, and I anticipate that one or both of them is going to be here 2 weeks from today.
And Mark, and I just want to be clear, the reason I want to disengage and stop, because to me, a contract negotiation is give and take. And basically, under this contract negotiation, it's them just telling us what they're willing to give us, and they're not willing to take or make any concessions. So to me, that's no negotiation. So if that's the case, then I'm not willing to just do a rubber stamp, because that's not a negotiation.
Sean, your feeling on that is?
Well, there's only so much, there's only so much they can give back. There's certain things that they can't negotiate, fees and so forth. But I think another discussion might be fruitful. There was one discussion that wasn't that fruitful, but I think another one might be fruitful, and they're always willing to talk. They did send us some documentation. Did you get the documentation email, Joe?
Sean, I've been so busy, probably have to look at it. But the thing that I asked them for, and that's why I wanted to stop it, is what are they willing to give us? Okay, they can't increase the rate. They can't give us a percentage on the internet. They can't give us a percentage on the premium channels. They can't give us a percentage on the phone. They can't increase our free areas, because one of the things we asked for was free internet and phone and cable at the police station, at the library, at the school, at all public buildings. They said they couldn't do that to give us one spot. We asked for increased hotspots. So I basically said to them, what is it that you're willing to give us? And they've given us nothing. They're claiming that by law, they can't give us a bigger percentage or give us any money on those areas, but I've yet to see the law did they send you the law yet?
Yeah, I thought you were emailed on the regulation. I'll make sure you get it again. I thought you were on it, but
Why don't you, tomorrow, get that out to all of us, that we can look at it, Joe, the rest of the board?
you had circulated that, didn't you, Margaret?
And the reality is, what I'm hearing is that they can force us to sign the contract.
Well, they can continue service under the terms.
Right, but they can also petition the federal government to make us sign it. So the reality is that they really hold all the cards.
I didn't know that.
The other thing they do is just continue, because they can't discontinue service, so they're going to continue under the
Right.
current terms unless we come to some agreement.
The other question I had was, when you talked about the open meeting of town board, you got the ZBA coming up, and Thursday you have the planning board, they'll be open as well?
You'd have to check with those boards. That's my understanding. As of last Wednesday, the governor has given us the go to be able to have the room full, and we're still using WebEx as we had as part of our meeting, just like we use the TV channel.
The thing at the last meeting, you talked about the fact that you wanted to find out if you have the legal power to tell the other boards you have to be open.
We did some research on it, but then I also tried to, because of myself, I tried to reach out to Association of Towns yesterday and today. Then I find out this afternoon that Wendy, they're closed for
Renovations.
They're closed for renovations till Monday. So hopefully at some point early next week I'll have some clarification on that.
And I believe Scott had that same comment when he had his meeting. If you were on the call, he talked to his team about that, about the association.
I had a conversation with Scott. I asked him to give me the name of the attorney who he spoke with, and did she send him anything in writing so that I could have something in front of me.
And that the boards do not serve at the pleasure of the town board. They serve independently, they're volunteers.
The governor did terminate, I'm sorry, he did terminate the suspension of I think it was the Executive Order 202.1, but because what he did is he suspended the application of the Public Officers Law, the Open Meetings Law. So now he terminated that executive order, so the Open Meetings Law is back in effect.
So they have to return. Hey, Freddie, can we just jump to Resolution C, because Mr. Bernhardt is here, been waiting so patiently?
Well, I think they're going to go really quick, but why don't we just run right through them? We've got, if we're ready to go, we go to resolutions. I mean, we'll go to motions and resolutions. Wendy, A,
Motion to approve town board meeting minutes of June 2nd and June 16th.
is there a motion? Second?
Second.
So carried. B,
Resolution to approve the following budget amendment, events 2560, to take it out and put it into events 7550 for $5,000.
Motion.
second?
That's for the fireworks? I
Wait,
think?
was there a second?
Lenny seconded it.
Okay, discussion.
$5,000 for, is that for the fireworks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved it from their, they brought in about $6,000 in revenue from the spring market. So they help kind of offset the fireworks as well.
Okay.
Is that the same vendor we had in the past?
No, actually, I think it's called Legion Fireworks,
Right.
which I think we may have had in the past a few years back.
Because they really put on, either vendor, they really put on some show.
Yeah.
So maybe we get a big crowd coming into the town.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. C,
Resolution to hire Jaden Bernhardt as full-time dispatcher at $16.53 per hour, effective July the 8th.
do I have a
At the
motion?
resignation.
I'm sorry, Wendy.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second,
Second.
Mike. Any discussion?
No, let's bring the young man up before we vote.
I vote on it.
Jason Barnhart, he will be our new full-time dispatcher, working the evening shift, which has been vacant for 20 months.
Wow.
Filled
Thank you.
part-time dispatcher. So he's off civil service list. He brings a little experience with him as a fireman, an EMT, and they've got wonderful backup, so he'll fit nice on the call.
I did have the pleasure
To meet with James, I believe, as Jim does, he'll be an asset to the town of Lloyd.
So I'm sure everybody's going to vote yes, it'll be unanimous, so welcome to the Town of Lloyd family. You've got a great chief to learn from and work with, and you have a terrific department. Hopefully you'll be here for many years.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Resolution D.
You skip privilege of the floor. You skip privilege of the floor.
Hey, Freddie, while we're waiting,
I have to back up. Well, I'll let him talk to it. It's not a right of way. I'll let him talk to the ODA. Sorry, I missed privilege of the floor. Yes. Come up, please, and speak into the, if you don't mind.
In that case, never mind.
I thought I was going to be doing this through your Zoom meeting, so I apologize.
Person.
Yes.
This is generally not me. Lisa Sunuglan, here with my husband. We just wanted to see, I don't know if the agenda has been updated as to where you stand with the ODA in regards to Prospero Drive.
Okay, so it came in at the last minute, and it's right here. I'm getting ready to read it for you now.
Okay.
It's resolution, it's
And
resolution,
don't leave, because I have paperwork.
it's resolution D.
Okay, thank you. And actually, my husband is going to be the one signing off on that. So he's right here. All right,
So
thank
Lisa-
you. Yes.
Lisa, we knew that you were, that you guys were up against it too, so you were happy to put it on the agenda for tonight.
And I do appreciate, I know it's a workshop meeting, so I thank you for taking the time to address this, so, and for pushing it up. I do appreciate it very much.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have questions. So Wendy, would you read D, please?
Do I have to read the whole thing?
No. Read the first whereas.
So whereas Future First Development LLC by Lisa Signiglio, one of the members therefore has requested that the town approve an ODA for parcel at 8 Prospero Drive. Now therefore be it resolved, Future First Development LLC application for open development area be and same hereby is granted. And no change in the town of Lloyd building zoning laws are intended by this approval of this open development area. A review of the EAF indicates that the granting of this open development area to Future First Development is of no environmental significance, and the board hereby issues its negative declaration pursuant to Part 617 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So that comes to us from the planning board as a go. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion and a second, Lynn. Discussion.
Discussion, yeah. How many acres is the lot?
It's 1.63 acres.
Right, and Richie still here, or did Richie leave?
Richie will.
So Prospero Lane isn't a town road, correct?
It is now.
Dominic Lane is.
It's the same.
Both of them are?
It's the same road.
And
This is the whole reason for this, because when the town took over Sparrow Drive, they didn't go all the way back to this, to the back property. They stopped at 6 Sparrow, they didn't go all the way to 8. So we have to use the grandfather right away to connect to.
so it has no road frontage on where they stop the road? And so you're not asking us to extend the road?
No, we're just going for the ODA.
So there's a right-of-way?
So, Joe, do you know where it is?
I do know where it is.
I have a map if you want to.
No, I'm good.
My cousin used to live there. I shared a apartment with her, and
Right.
that was always a right-of-way. Right. For the back house.
And I'm not against you, I'm just asking because when future people come, they're going to say, well, you gave that right away, and we have no road frontage, so I'm just want to ask the questions. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, an ODA, an open development area, is specifically for lots that don't have road frontage, but have access through either a right-of-way or easement.
Okay.
And we do have a go from the planning board. Any other questions? None? Roll call?
Winslow. Pizzuto. Akmuti.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Mazzetti.
Yes.
5A, so carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Glenn, do you have anything else?
They're gonna have the big house on the, they're gonna have the house on the mountain. Beautiful view.
Is that it for resolutions? Yes. Okay. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight? Seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Can we just go into executive session for 1 second?
Sure. Sean?
You have a reason?
Yeah, contract.
The answer is yes. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
I need a second.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. We're going to an executive session at 5 after 5.